In the late 1400s, Europe stood on the edge of a new era. Kingdoms were growing stronger, trade was booming, and curiosity about the world was rising fast. But across the Atlantic, unknown to most Europeans, lay vast lands filled with diverse civilizations, rich ecosystems, and millions of people living complex lives. So why did Europeans cross an ocean they feared? To settle, conquer, and claim these lands? The answer is not one reason, but many, woven together in ambition, faith, competition, and survival. Today, we explore the main motivations behind the European colonization of the Americas. One of the strongest motivations was wealth. By the 1400s, Europeans craved luxury goods, especially spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves. These came from Asia, but reaching them was expensive and dangerous. Trade routes were controlled by powerful empires and wealthy middlemen. European monarchs wanted direct access to trade, and more importantly, profits. When Christopher Columbus sailed west in 1492, he was searching for a quicker route to Asia. Instead, he reached the Caribbean, opening the door to a completely new world for Europe. Spain quickly realized that these lands held something even more valuable than spices: gold and silver. In the 1500s, Spanish conquests, especially of the Aztec and Inca empires, brought enormous wealth back to Europe. Mines in places like Potosi, in present-day Bolivia, produced massive amounts of silver. This flood of precious metals transformed Europe's economy, funded wars, strengthened monarchies, and encouraged other countries to compete. Colonization wasn't just exploration, it was investment. Kings expected profits. Colonies also produced valuable crops such as sugar, tobacco, and later cotton, products that were in high demand in Europe. These plantations generated wealth, but at a terrible human cost, including the forced labor of enslaved Africans and the displacement of indigenous peoples. Alongside wealth came power. Europe in the 1500s and 1600s was highly competitive. Nations like Spain, Portugal, France, England, and the Netherlands were often rivals, sometimes enemies. The stronger the empire, the more respected and feared it became. Colonies provided military advantage, naval bases and ports, strategic trade locations, resources to support wars and global influence. This competition was intense. Spain and Portugal were early leaders, dividing much of the New World through agreements like the Treaty of Tordesillas. But soon, England, France, and the Netherlands challenged that dominance, establishing their own colonies, especially in North America and the Caribbean. In many cases, colonization was not just about building new settlements. It was about preventing rivals from controlling land and trade. Colonies were like chess pieces. Whoever held the ports and resources had the advantage. Religion played a major role in colonization, especially for Spain and France. The Catholic Church supported efforts to spread Christianity, and many explorers believed they were fulfilling a religious mission. Missionaries traveled to convert indigenous peoples, often establishing missions that became the center of colonial life in places like Florida, California, Mexico, and South America. But religion wasn't only about spreading faith, it was also about conflict. In the 1500s, Europe was shaken by the Protestant Reformation. Christians divided into Catholic and Protestant groups, and violence erupted in many regions. Some people colonized America to escape persecution and build communities based on their beliefs. For example, the Puritans in New England and other religious groups sought freedom to practice their faith as they believed it should be practiced. However, it's important to note, religious freedom often applied only to settlers, not always to those who disagreed with them. For many ordinary Europeans, colonization wasn't about gold or empire. It was about survival. In parts of Europe, land was scarce, jobs were limited, and poverty was widespread. Some people faced famine, debt, or lack of social mobility. America was seen as a place of opportunity. Colonies promised farmland, work, trade, and the chance to own property, something many could never achieve in Europe. Not everyone came willingly, though. Many colonists arrived as indentured servants, working for years to pay travel costs, or as prisoners sent as punishment, and millions of Africans were forcibly transported through the transatlantic slave trade. So, the idea of a new life was real, for some, but not for all. Finally, we can't ignore the human drive to explore. The Renaissance encouraged learning and discovery. New technologies, like improved ships, compasses, and map-making, made long voyages more possible. Explorers were celebrated as heroes, and nations funded voyages to gain knowledge and prestige. But exploration often became colonization, because once Europeans arrived, they didn't just want to visit, they wanted control. European colonization of the Americas was driven by powerful motivations: wealth, gold, silver, trade, and valuable crops; power, building empires and defeating rivals; religion, spreading faith and escaping persecution; land and opportunity, new lives, farmland, and social mobility; exploration, curiosity, technology, and prestige. But these motivations brought deep consequences. Indigenous communities faced displacement, disease, violence, and cultural destruction. Enslavement expanded across the Atlantic world. Entire continents were transformed, economically, politically, and socially. To understand colonization is to understand not only what Europeans wanted, but what others lost. The story of colonization is not just about discovery. It is about ambition, human choices, and their lasting impact on the world we live in today.